If you want to hold your breath longer and become a decent freediver, if you want to be a better freediver than you are now, then you have to understand how breath holding and freediving works. And in order to do so, you gotta go beyond the typical normal exercises. You gotta go deep into topics. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna talk about advanced topics. This is a freediving and breath holding masterclass. So we're going to take a look at the underwater squats and what we are offering there. So we have, besides the courses and the exercise library, we have here a Breathwork Masterclass, which is a full masterclass on freediving and breath holding techniques. So we're going to go over this so you have an idea of what's inside, and I will talk you through the different topics as good as I can, because this is a YouTube video. You know, I cannot go that much in depth because then you guys would just not keep on watching. It's gonna be too complicated. Breathwork is a complex science, so I gotta keep it a bit digestible for a mainstream audience on YouTube. But if you want to get the nitty-gritty, then you go inside of this community, of course. By the way, tomorrow starts the 6-week New Year's challenge. Tomorrow, Monday morning, on the 6th of January. 7-day trial for free, so you got nothing to lose. Just go to the About page and click the Start Free Trial, and then you're in for 7 days. It's free. So let's get started. So what do we talk about? First of all, O2 saturation and hypoxia. Now, the main reason why people are stressed when they hold their breath, they carry subconscious anxiety, and that is because of many reasons, and one of those many reasons can be that they are scared of blacking out. And you can tell them as an instructor that they don't have to be scared because they're not going to black out, but that's not working, because people have to know that it's actually true that they're not going to black out. You can't just tell them, hey, you're not going to black out. They have to be convinced they're not going to black out. Only then you can take away the fear. And how can you take away that fear and convince a student that he or she is not going to black out? It is by explaining the whole process and by making the student understand how this goes, right? So very short, you can see it on the graphical representation here: hypoxia, hypercapnia. Hypercapnia is the highest level of CO2 that you can tolerate. So when you hold your breath, the urge to breathe starts manifesting itself, starts going up, it starts becoming more uncomfortable. We call that the urge to breathe. And the more you hold your breath, the stronger the urge to breathe becomes. And at a certain point, you cannot hold that breath hold anymore, and you have to let go. And that is what we call the maximum, the hypercapnia, the maximum amount of CO2 that you can tolerate. This hypercapnia limit comes before the hypoxia limit, and the hypoxia limit is the lowest level of oxygen that you can tolerate before you black out. So when you reach hypoxia, low levels of oxygen, usually between 45 to 50% SpO2, which is the blood oxygen saturation, if you would reach that level of hypoxia, you would black out. Why is it that you don't black out? Because hypercapnia, high CO2, comes before hypoxia. So in fact, the high levels of CO2, the urge to breathe, is warning you, hey, it's about time to stop your breath and start breathing again, because if it's too much, then you're going to black out. So we need that high level of CO2 that automatically will stop us from holding the breath longer. If we would black out. So high levels of CO2, low levels of O2. What comes first is the high level of CO2, and that is what stops you from blacking out. Now, if you would hyperventilate, then you would start with lower levels of CO2, and then the chances of blacking out are way bigger because you never reach the hypercapnia limit, the high level of CO2. So that's why in freediving, we tell every student to not hyperventilate. So there are two big rules in freediving. One, never dive alone, always dive with a buddy. And two, never hyperventilate, because when you do hyperventilate, you take away high CO2, so you take away the alarm bell, which means you can hold your breath until hypoxia and you black out. That was very fast explained. Now, of course, there is more to it inside of the underwater squat. Let's take a look at the mammalian diving reflex. What is the mammalian diving reflex? It is a reflex that all aquatic mammals have, like dolphins or like even beavers or whales. So they can hold their breath for a long time underwater. And we humans, we have this mammalian diving reflex as well, the MDR. It is just not developed. So how do we develop that MDR? It is by training our breath hold. The more we hold our breath, the more we train the MDR. The more we free dive, the more we train the MDR. The MDR is triggered by high CO2. So if you hold your breath, CO2 goes up, so you trigger the MDR, and it can also be triggered by dipping your face into cold water. That's why in this 6-week challenge that we have, the New Year's challenge, in the underwater squats, we have one day where we are going to actually do this, dip our face in the water to trigger the mammalian diving reflex. And the mammalian diving reflex, when you train that, is helping you in holding your breath longer. How good is that? We also talk about FRC and RV. This is about the lung volume. So FRC is functional residual capacity and RV is residual volume. FRC is the volume that remains in the lungs after a passive exhalation. This is a passive exhalation. That was a passive exhalation. Now I will do a forceful exhalation, which is RV. I pushed all the air out. That's a forceful exhalation. So RV, residual volume, is the amount of air that stays in your lungs after a forceful exhalation. Here in this image, the RV is the pink volume at the bottom of the lungs, 1.2 liters more or less, and the FRC is the purple. So the purple plus the pink, that is the FRC, the functional residual capacity, which is more or less 3 liters. Very important to understand, because not all breath holds are done on full lungs. Sometimes you hold your breath on FRC or even on RV, which is of course an advanced technique. You cannot ask a beginner to hold the breath on empty lungs, especially after a forceful exhalation. But for advanced freedivers, this is a technique, and we also teach this in the 6-week challenge. For instance, when we do the Uddiyana Bandha, which is a stretch of the diaphragm, we first forcefully exhale, and then we suck in the diaphragm. We suck in the diaphragm on empty lungs so we can stretch that diaphragm. So we do touch upon the RV, and we do exercises as well, even though you are a beginner. If you would start, if you would become a member of Underwater Squat, right? So this is all more about physiology, about how your body works. Let's talk a bit about mindset now, because in freediving everything is about mindset, of course. So how to delay contractions and enjoy static apnea more. I think you guys are going to be extremely interested in this, because holding your breath longer in the beginning, it's fun, but I mean in the beginning of your breath hold, but then as you hold your breath longer, the urge to breathe goes up. It's not that fun anymore. And unfortunately, people, they cultivate some kind of adversity against it, some kind of negative connotation, negative feelings. So in this masterclass, I discuss on how to delay contractions so your breath hold is actually more enjoyable. And guess what? It's all about mastering the mind. So the more relaxed you are in your mind, the more you can delay those contractions, and how to enjoy static apnea more. So I give you tips and tricks here on how to enjoy a breath hold more and keep your mind in a positive space instead of thinking about negative things. There is mental techniques for this, and there is physical techniques for this. Many techniques. You just pick out the one that works best for you. We got mental training for freediving, how to focus. So here I interview Alexander Nilsson, Swedish national record holder. What tricks does he use to focus during a deep dive? This is more from the perspective of an advanced freediver, but it might be very interesting for a beginner to actually know how an advanced freediver is thinking and what tips and tricks they are using. And guess what? Sometimes it's not that different from beginners. Sometimes what an advanced freediver does to calm down the mind and be in the right space is exactly the same as what a beginner does. It all comes down on focusing the mind and keeping your mind in a positive place. how to relax during difficult dives. So most of the questions that have to do with the mental state, they all come down to the same. How can I relax? How can I not freak out? How can I not be anxious? And by asking, so when a student asks me this question, how can I relax for a dive? You already know that the problem is themselves, no? So it's not something that happens outside of them. If you are not relaxed for a dive, it's because you are your worst enemy. And most people are their worst enemy, and that's okay. That's okay. That's why you are students. That's why you learn. And as an advanced freediver, as a coach, as an instructor, me and many other coaches, we show you the path to discover your own demons so you can deal with your own demons. And you can understand that the one who is holding you back was just you yourself. So if you stop holding yourself back, that opens up the door to more relaxation and more joy in life and more joy in freediving. So freediving and breath holding is a metaphor for life. You learn to master the mind so you can learn to master your life. Then we take a look at breathwork, of course, contractions, how to identify and manage, because some people don't really know what contractions are. So contractions are spasms of the respiratory muscles as you hold your breath longer. So in the first phase of a breath hold, everything is relaxed, but then at a certain point it starts feeling uncomfortable, and that feeling of being uncomfortable, that first urge to breathe, usually manifests itself with a contraction. Some people call it a diaphragmatic contraction because of the diaphragm that contracts. Other freediving instructors would tell you that it's actually not a diaphragmatic contraction because it's not just a diaphragm that contracts, it's all the respiratory muscles. And indeed, sometimes we see contractions in the neck or in the chest. So let's just call it CO2 contractions as a result of higher CO2. So how to identify this so that you know, oh, this is actually a contraction? Because sometimes I ask people, raise your hands when you feel your first contraction. And then I can literally see the contraction happening and they're not raising their hands. So I ask them, when they're done with their breath hold, why did you not raise your hands? Oh, I didn't have contractions. Of course they had contractions, but they didn't know. They could not identify the contraction. So in this video, we talk about it and you learn to become aware of your body and you learn to feel what it actually is to have a contraction, and you learn to manage them. You learn to not freak out when you get contractions, but relax even more. When things get more difficult, relax even more. And then we talk about tidal breathing versus hyperventilation. I've made a lot of videos already on my YouTube channel about hyperventilation, but here we really go in depth on how oxygen and CO2 relate to each other, because when you hyperventilate, you lower CO2. Now there is also something that is called the Bohr effect, and the Bohr effect describes how your body utilizes oxygen better when you have higher CO2. So in fact, when you have higher CO2 and there's more urge to breathe, your body actually uses the oxygen better, with as a result that you can hold your breath longer, at least if you're an advanced freediver and you have developed CO2 tolerance yet. Now what happens when you hyperventilate? The CO2 goes down, which minimizes the Bohr effect. So when you hyperventilate, CO2 goes down. Your body does not utilize the oxygen in the best possible way, which makes you actually reach hypoxia faster. And that's why it's more easy to black out after hyperventilation. So there's a lot to digest here. This is stuff that takes time to understand and to learn. That's why there is so many misconceptions about what is hyperventilation. Also, when I make videos about the Wim Hof method, Wim Hofers get angry at me because they think what I'm saying is complete bullshit. It's not, guys. It's not. This is science that is proven for decades within the freediving community. So it's all explained here in this masterclass. And then we finish off with a few masterclasses about health and performance outside of the scope of freediving. Because freediving, as much as it is a sport, as much as it is enjoyable to do, it is, for most people, and maybe even for me, even more a tool to master your life, a tool to master your breathing, a tool to master your minds, a tool to master stress levels and become a better person overall in life. So how to breathe while exercising. That is very important. So when you exercise, you're tired and then you start breathing probably through the mouth like this. Because you're tired. We're going to try to change that pattern and breathe through the nose. Now it's difficult when you're that tired and exhausted. It is difficult to breathe through the nose, but we're going to try to do that anyway. If it doesn't work on the first respirations because you're too tired, okay, then you breathe through your mouth. But you have to switch towards your nose as fast as possible. Why is that? Because breathing through the nose regulates the flux of air coming in more. So as a result that if you breathe through your nose, you actually breathe just enough. Whereas if you breathe through your mouth, it's very easy to breathe too much. And breathing too much is, guess what? Hyperventilation. So how to breathe while exercising. We talk about nutrition and supplements, specifically for freediving, but also just for life in general. As a beginner freediver, you don't need supplements. You don't need specific nutrition. Just eat healthy, eat whole foods. Whole foods is the opposite of processed foods. So processed foods is everything that went to a factory and went to a process, like cornflakes, like sausages. Sausages do not come from an animal, they were processed. Cornflakes does not come from the fields. But all food that directly comes from animals or fields, plants, that is called whole food. So if you base your diet upon whole foods, then you're doing very well already. But yeah, we discuss also specific supplements, like for instance, L-citrulline or beetroot juice, which all boosts nitric oxide, which helps you in holding your breath longer. For advanced freedivers, this could be interesting. We talk about mindset and discipline because everything in this life is about how you stand in life, how you manage your health, and also how you manage your freediving. It's not all about breathing techniques, tips and tricks, and how to learn to freedive. It's more about becoming a better person and managing your life. If you know how to manage your life, you're going to be better in sports, in life, in business, in relationships, in everything. So this is a topic that people sometimes overlook, but it's super, super important. And then we finish off with mouth taping for the people who are not sure whether they are breathing through their nose during sleep. You can tape your mouth, so you force yourself to breathe through your nose. So you create that habit of nose breathing during your sleep. So we have a 6-week challenge going on. It starts tomorrow. We have many people joining already. So learn breathwork from a freediver in just 15 minutes a day. So if you join, you get a workout of 50 minutes every single day during 6 weeks. And when the 6-week challenge is done, then starts a 4-minute breath hold training program where you learn to hold your breath for 4 minutes. So you can stay for many months in this community and reach an advanced level in breath holding and breath work. How do you get there? You go to school.com/underwater squats, then click the start free trial button. You will see a button, start free trial, so you get 7 days for free. Join on January 6th, learn breathwork from a freediver, now free for 7 days. So no pressure, guys. You can just go in there for free and take a look around. You can see how this 6-week challenge is structured. You can start right away tomorrow, Monday morning, 6th of January. Tomorrow you will have a time to join as well. So I will leave this registration open for the whole of Monday. And if you don't like it, then you don't like it. Then you just cancel before the 7 days. That's okay. And if you do like it, then you stay. And we have many people who have been in this community for many months and who have been achieving remarkable progress. We have Gabor, who was stuck at 2 minutes breath hold because of unconscious stress and anxiety, and now holds his breath for almost 4 minutes. And on top of that, enjoys holding his breath. We have Meili, who holds his breath for 4 minutes while underwater, holding his spear gun, dressed up, geared up as a spear fisherman. We have We have James, who is already a senior citizen, who is holding his breath over 4 minutes. We have many people who, besides holding their breath longer, have found peace in every breath through the 6-week challenge, because it's not only about holding your breath longer. Some people are less interested in how long they can hold their breath, and they just focus on the breath work, which brings them peace and calmness, and they tell me they are less stressed. For instance, Alkis told me that his life really changed by following the 6-week breathwork challenge, because he is no longer anxious now. And even his wife commented on him like, hey, since you're doing this breath work, I can see remarkable changes. So that's absolutely wonderful. And for me as a coach, this is wonderful, you know. So that's why I'm doing this. So guys, holding your breath longer, that's what you learn in here. But it's just a tool. Holding your breath longer is just a tool to become a better person, more grounded, less emotional, less reactional, and just level up in life, leaving behind the person that you were before and becoming a new person. That is what we do in the underwater squats. So if you want to be part of that growing community, and it's growing fast now, 2025 is going to be an absolutely massive year for the underwater squat, then join now, become part of the members, interact with all the members inside of the community, hold your breath together on the bi-weekly live calls we do on Wednesday and Saturday. Join for free. I see you inside. Peace in every breath.